Good morning and namaste everyone. As soon as I came onto the dais, what caught my attention and what I felt really happy about was the pride with which you gave the bouquet to all of us. That it was not just a flower plucked from your own garden, but it was also very beautifully organized. And the point that actually pleased me was the dignity and pride with which you were ready to disclose that particular aspect, that it was not only picked from your garden, but it was also prepared by your own self. A school or an institution like this is meant to impart that pride and that dignity of being in the teachers, thereby promising that the students also imbibe that. Yatha Raja, Yatha Drishti, Katha Srishti. As is the vision, so is the word. As is the leader, so is the follower. And if that pride can be seen in the first act that I come to interact with you, I am very pleased. I am very happy. Yes, give a big round of applause. Clapping is one act wherein you invest a lot by spending nothing. So wherever possible to appreciate somebody, you should wholeheartedly clap. Mana ko ye de dhara nagar. Sadharananga, when I go to schools and colleges and when students start clapping without a context, it is usually an indication for me to stop. Hopefully that is not the case here. Not yet. Oh, not at all, okay. One thing that I observe to whichever school, college, university that I go to is the majority of those who have signed up to be the teachers or the teaching staff, as evident here, are the mothers, the women. And that reassures me that the school is in a good condition. Because the best teacher happens to be the mother. The first teacher happens to be the mother. That's why in the Upanishadic mantra, the first worship is done to the mother, not to the teacher, not to the father. The first one is always the mother. Matru Devo Bhava. Then comes Pitru Devo Bhava. Then comes Acharya Devo Bhava. And the last one is Athithi Devo Bhava. So whenever I see that the mothers are in that forefront as teachers, that school is in a good condition. Because to impart this knowledge, first and foremost that is required is, other than the need, necessity to make a living, the primary thing that I think that a teacher should have is immense love for children. And that naturally happens in a mother. All those sirs that are sitting, it is not belittling you, but you come after the mother only. That is a fact. Now when we teach here, as a teacher, before I proceed, how much time do I have? మీకు ఇష్టం వచ్చినంత చెప్పకండి, నాకు బట్టి లిమిట్ ఉంది. You have been signed up for an unlimited time. So you are at my disposal now. Talku muh se na. ఇప్పుడు విత్ ప్రెషర్ తర్వాత విత్ ప్రెషర్ అవుతుంది. So I'll probably take about 45-50 minutes. Then I will open the floor for your questions if you have any. If what I am speaking creates any inquisitiveness, questions, doubts, queries, do not hesitate to ask them. We'll have some time for that, about 10-15 minutes. In the platform of teaching, for any mission, there has to be a vision. For any work that we do, though sometimes we see contrary to that. Four friends when they meet and they say, "Bahar chale." So they all jump into the car already on the road. Then they start deciding, "Kahan?" Hota hai. But that is on a casual trip. But on a very sincere effort, before we start something, there has to be a vision, the understanding of it, the clarity of it, and the understanding should be so deep that every action that we take is geared towards that particular vision and its fulfillment. Sadly, when we come to the platform of teaching, there are many misnomers. In Telugu they say that Telugu is English lo kanadisa. ఏమీ చేయలేని వాడు బడి పంతులు అవుతాడంటారు. అన్యథా శరణం రాస్తే బడి పంతులు ఏమో శరణం అవుతారు. When they think that this is an easy job, a casual job, the rest of them are serious job. But I think this is more serious, more sincere than any other job out there. And the reason for that is, if there is an architect, a builder, a construction engineer, if they fail at one building, they have lost their reputation, they have lost their business, they have lost their opportunity. If there is a doctor who has a license to revive, but if that license becomes a license to kill, nobody will dare go back to that doctor. But whereas with the teacher, it is every moment of growth and construction. Growth and construction of that many students that which you end up teaching for a decade, 2 decades, maybe 3, even 4 decades. Average, or you go to about 4 or 5 classrooms that you visit, or 6, 4 or 5 classrooms you visit in a day. In one class you will have about 30 students. So about 150 students per year under you. So if you teach for an average of 20 years, how many students have you touched in your life? 20 times 150. That many students go through you, go under you, to become something unique in their own perspective. How deep is the impact of being a teacher? A couple of examples. I'll ask you a few questions, simple questions. Try answering them. I'll pick randomly. Please answer loudly. Will you all participate? Sir, చాలా సాహసవంతులు. క్వశ్చన్ ఏమిటో తెలియకుండా అందరూ చేస్తానే సార్. ఇప్పుడు కొంచెం We will try to want to learn. Remember those days when you were students in your education time, while you were growing up, when you were the students. There must have been at least a teacher or two that must have made a very deep connection with you and an impact on you. Your favorite teacher. Do you remember them? Everybody? Let me randomly pick few people to see who impressed them and what subject they learned from them.
My science teacher.
Name?
Sudha.
Madam, science teacher. Green teacher, light green. Maths teacher. And Madhumati. Somebody from that row, way in the end, pink dupatta, yes. Social teacher, Sri Lanka. Each one of us has one particular teacher at least that must have made a deep impact. How many of you think that because of that particular teacher, you end up being that particular subject right now teaching? You see the impact? Almost half of the group ends up saying that it was because of that particular teacher, you ended up loving that subject also. Not only that you ended up loving that subject, it has morphed, it has changed your way of thinking that you now end up being a teacher yourself. First, second, of that very subject that particular teacher made an impact in your life. That deep is the impact that you have over 150 students over a period of 1 year, and like that you have 10, 20, 30 years of manufacturing impact. In today's world, they say there are a lot of influencers on the social networking. In my opinion, they are actually zero. The actual influencer who is a hero is the teachers. Because you impact that deep for that long. Those influencers impact maybe only for a moment or maybe a week. But your impact lasts that long. So the teacher's teaching capabilities starts forth from understanding the vision of why teach, why be a teacher. The philosophy of teaching is technically called as the pedagogy of teaching. Pedagogy ante చెప్పించి నేర్పించేటువంటి సిద్ధాంతం. In comparison to what we have today as the teaching environment, I'll take you back to several thousand years ago of how our systems work. It was called the Gurukula. They were so famous that people used to travel from other countries to come to these universities to study, learn, equip and go back to their countries. I'll give you a prominent example. Today the number system that we have, the numericals that we have, what are they called? Math teacher. Somebody said they learned math. So what is the number system called today that we teach? Arabic numerals. The other one is the Roman numerals. the one that we normally teach and emphasize upon, is called the Arabic numerals. Do you know why it is called Arabic numerals, or why we end up calling it Arabic numerals? You do? I'm glad to hear that. The Arabic numerals comes from the example being, there was a student from Persia. His name was Al-Baruni. And that Al-Baruni came down searching different universities. He finally settled in a university which is at the border of Kerala, Karnataka, now presently what we call as Kasaragod. And that is where he studied various things, mathematics being one of them, architecture, medicine system. So he meticulously took down notes and went back to Persia, translated it into Persian language. And Persia is like the bridge between the east and the west. So the westerners, when they came to Persia and saw this system, and they saw the books in Persian, therefore the number system and the arithmetics that they picked up from there, they branded it as Arabic numerals. The origin being our own Kerala. So people came from far and wide to learn here. Tuansang, Chinese. I mean, the examples now I can give, rattle out a long list. But the point being that this was such a hub where education was given, and people from far and wide, like how today people rush to American universities or the Australian universities. In those days there was a rush towards India, towards this Bharatavarsha. What was the system? What was the philosophy of their teaching? When the student was introduced to the Gurukula at a young age of 4 or 5, they were introduced to a particular discipline, and for the first 2 years they were expected to follow that particular discipline 3 times a day, and there was nothing else taught. That was the time when the teacher at the Gurukula had the time to understand the student and the student to understand the teacher, and a bond being created, a connection being established. The key point being that the connection has to be established. Supposing you are typing a message on your WhatsApp or Messenger, and you enter, as you are typing, you enter into an elevator, and you type send. You type the message and you hit send. And many times we see that the elevator, the network is not lost. Your connection with the network is not established. It is disconnected. So what happens to that message which you have hit send? Where is it? Beautiful. I see lot of video happening, but because of the fans, no audio reaching. So we can call this audio video glitch. I guess what you were trying to say is the message is not sent. Where is it then? It is in your inbox, not in the outbox of the person intended to be sent. Is this example clear to everybody? Pakka? What happens when you are not connected with the child? What happens to all that you put in effort the entire year? Where is that message? ఏంటో ఇంత కష్టపడుతున్నా దద్దమ్మలు ఒక్కటి సరిగా చదువుతున్నాం. Where is that lost in translation? Where is it? It is because the teacher is not connected with the student. First we have to establish that connection, that rapport has to be established. Once that connection is established and well stabilized, then you push any amount of data, it will transform into knowledge. Otherwise, it is in your outbox, not in their inbox. So the first 2 years in the Gurukula system, they would spend the entire 2 years to understand each other. There is a mantra with which we usually start our classes. Sahana avatu, sahano bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahe, tejas vinavadhi tamastu, ma vidvishavahai. What is the meaning of it? The process of learning is not unisided, is not single-sided. Sahana avatu. It is an effort by both the teacher and the taught, where the connection has to be established by the teacher and received well by the student, by the taught. Sahana bhavatu. Sahanau bhunaktu. Whatever are the results that come out of this effort, I will not blame the student and the student will not blame the teacher. Let us both take the results and see where it has gone wrong so that we can constantly improve upon it. Sahanau bhunaktu. And for that, saha viryam karavavahe. Viryam is to put rejuvenated effort, energized effort. It is not that you come into the classroom and hello, puska lenge, first paragraph last one. If that disinterest is there from, then the disconnection, the students may not be able to articulate it back. They may not be able to speak back in a vocabulary that we understand, but they have already disconnected with you, signed off. Appa, mandi teacher ichna. Just like today when I was being introduced or before being introduced, I was sitting on that table. What I found very interesting is none of the tables have any signature marks of being used by the student. Usually, here students don't come. That is the point. Okay. So when I go to the classrooms, I might find it. Then it is a healthy school.
Very rarely we don't find.
Then it is not a healthy school. Rival expression power. That is only on the jovial part. So one such university that I was in, this was in Huntsville, Alabama. I found it very, very funny. There was a graveyard etched into the table, and on the plaque of that was written, in the memory of all those who slept through the boring English class. It speaks volumes. All their enthusiasm shown on the table. Or in other words, enthusiasm / frustration. ఇంకేం అనలేక అక్కడ చూపించాను. It was not pen written, it was carved. The first point being that it has to be an effort where both the student and the teacher has to put the effort, both of the responsibility of this knowledge together, The enthusiastic effort has to be from both the teacher and the taught. The taught has to be infused of that enthusiasm by the teacher. Sahaviryam Karava. What is the purpose of the entire teaching process? Tejas vinavadhi tamastu. That this process of education, the effort of education, is to sharpen the intellect with all possible skill sets along with education. That is what I will expound upon. One example will make that whole process of the philosophy of education clear. How many were the Panchapandavas? Bah! Brilliant. Panchapandavas were 5. The actual brilliance I would appreciate is 6, 12. Technically is 5. Among those 5, if you can name them all in the sequence of chronology, from the oldest to the youngest. Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula. Nakula Sahadev अंदर पेड़ में थे Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadev. Nakula Sahadev. Older than them, there was Karna also. First one. Now, when these people, the reason I only limit to this, because in that Gurukula, the understanding was there will be only Kshatriyas that will be allowed. That was the MOU signed between Dronacharya and Bhishma. When Bhishma said, I will sponsor the Gurukula. But the only stipulation is, you will be teaching in this Gurukula only Kshatriyas, the only exception being, there was an exception, and the exception was Drona's own son, Ashwatthama. Other than that, rest of them were all Kshatriyas. So the 5 of them. Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadev. So the teacher in that first 2 years put the effort to understand that they all come from the Kshatriya background. So they have to be taught Kshatriya Dharma. But why the focus is on Kshatriya Dharma? What is the individual student's skill, talent, potential? That was to be understood by the teacher even before they start teaching. That was what was spent for 2 years. समझ में? Along with the main education, what was the focus that they spent entire 2 years for? To understand the students' skills, talents, and potential. That are dormant in that individual, but there are certain signs, telltales, seeing which you understand who has what kind of. But to understand that, the teacher puts the extreme effort. Then as they learn the mainstream of Kshatriya Dharma, it's a whole various field wherein they have to learn Yuddhaniti, they have to read Rajaniti, they have to read Arthashastra, they have to read to understand Manava Dharma, they have to understand. There is a whole plethora of things that they have to learn under Kshatriya Dharma. While that was being taught, it was recognized that each one of them is passionately talented in one particular field. Yudhishthira was very passionate about learning Rajaniti Dharma Shastra. So that was specifically designed to be taught. The key word here, designed, tailor-made to be taught to that one single individual. It is not whoever comes with whatever background, with whatever skill set, this is the question paper. रट्टा मारो, उल्टी करो, जाओ पास हो गए. Along with the mainstream, which is their profession, which is their livelihood, there was this wherein the talent which was there in Yudhishthira, which was Dharma Shastra. Bhima, good. Paka Shastra. Though women are the ones that we see that are cooking all the time, but the credit of good Paka Shastra goes to two people. And both of them are not women. Nala, Bhima, Paka. Nala and Bhima. Bhima is his passionate and his talent that was enhanced was Paka Shastra. He was not told by his parents or the teachers, "Chi, adha, in the kind of benchi, koi bhi to kuch hota." That was encouraged. One of the greatest fighters. Why do I call him the greatest fighters? Is of the 100 Kauravas, 99 were defeated and killed by single-handedly Bhima alone. Did you know that? That was the kind of skill set. But he has a softer side. That when he comes to the kitchen, he has the best of the talent to be a cook, a chef. There is a book which is called Nala Bhima Paka Sarvabhauma, which talks about the great recipes and the Siddhanta behind what should go in combination with what. Very detailedly explained in that book. Accredited to Nala and Bhima. So he is also an author. That he has a cookbook released after him. I'll come to Arjuna a little later. Nakula was very good with what was his talent or passion. He was good with not just Ashwa, any kind of animals. Animal husbandry was his passion. So along with the main course, which was Kshatra Dharma, what was specifically tailor-made taught to him is taking care of Pashu Chikitsa. So much was his passion that being a doctor of the animals, it does not matter on this Bharata Yuddha which side animal got hurt. My job is to serve any side. Because the ultimate doctor's responsibility is the well-being of that particular patient, whether it is of the Mitra Paksha or the Shatru Paksha. Sahadeva, Nakula, done. Sahadeva, what was his skill set? Palmistry is one integral part of it. Samudrika Lakshana is also an integral part of it. So Jyotishya Shastra, which involves reading the astrological planetary objects and predictions, which also has various aspects of Samudrika Lakshana, it is face reading. Hasta Lakshana is reading the palm. So palmistry, face reading, the horoscopes, or if it is not a good horoscope, the predictions of it. He was very good at it. So while teaching the main course, he was taught that specific. You see the difference between that basic teaching module and today's teaching module. Now, while they were being taught Chhatra Dharma, each one of them, this is the talent that they had. The five that we, or four that we just discussed. Because Arjuna I left. I'll come back to that. Along with this talent, there was a specific skill set so that would help them in the Kshatriya Dharma. So, Yudhishthira learned to wield a spear. That was his choice of weapon. In weaponry, there are two kinds. One is called Astra, the other is called Shastra. Astra, Shastra, Vidya. What does Astra mean? What does Shastra mean? हाँ तो उसे क्या बोलते हैं? अच्छा उल्टा याद रखने के लिए बहुत आसान है. ब्रह्मास्त्र हाथ में पकड़ के लड़ते हैं कि छोड़ते हैं? अस्त्र, ब्रह्मास्त्र तो नाम ही है ना, ब्रह्मास्त्र, ब्रह्मास्त्र, पाशुपतास्त्र. Shastra is that which you hold in your hand and fight for defense or offense, whereas Astra is like a missile technology which is launched. Now let me see if you have understood this well. Belan, is it Astra or Shastra? Your answer should be, it depends. पास में है तो शस्त्र, दूर में है तो अस्त्र. सर मళ్ళీ వాళ్ళ ఎగ్జామ్లో చాలా కంప్లైంట్ వస్తుంది నేను బాధపడలేదు. వాళ్ళు చేస్తున్నా చెప్పారు కానీ నేను చేయమని చెప్పట్లేదు. So now you have clarity about what was meant Shastra. So Yudhishthira was very specific about learning the spear. Bhala. Bhima was very good with Paga Shastra is a talent. He had two. One was the mace Gada, and the second one is Malla Yudha or Bandha Yudha. In Hyderabad, we have a specific place. Until I understood the meaning of it, I thought something else. The place name even today is called Domalguda. So my understanding was that it is filled with mosquitoes. Buddha place filled with Domalguda. It is only later that I understand that the name of that place is as ancient as Mahabharata times, because Kamsa was the one who gave them enough money to buy that land, and there were two Malla Yuddha experts, and it was their land. Who were the two Malla Yuddha Kamsa? Chanur and Mushtika. तो दो मल थे ना, मल युद्ध करने वाले, दो मल का गुड़ा है, नॉट मॉस्किटो गुड़ा. So Bhima was good with both Gada as well as Malla Yuddha. Nakula Sahadeva were very good with sword. Now let's come to Arjuna. His passion, profession and vritti dharma, all of that was in one particular field alone, and that was archery. Very rare few whose profession, passion and the vyavahara dharma is the same. If we are under the opinion, if we are under the idea that you should do only that which you feel passionate about, you will become useless. You have to learn your vritti dharma as well as that about as well as that which you are skilled at potentially. Now, in understanding this, how does the teacher, that is where is the key. वो लोग पढ़ा दिए हो गया, physically है. How do we benefit as teachers? How do I identify these? So, the human nature can be divided into three parts. There are different ways. Now I am talking about the philosophy of why they taught in that particular pattern. So please pay attention. In the next 5-10 minutes, joke लूँगा. Serious का सिद्धांत मिलता है. The human personality can be divided into three parts. That which we can see immediately is the physical part, the gross body, sthula sharira. The software behind or the operating system. Cell phone, there are two operating systems, right? One is called Android, the other is called iOS. Similarly, for running this hardware, there needs to be a software, and that software is called the Sukshma Sharira or the mind, or in the colloquial English we say heart. Whenever we say chala baadaga undi, do you observe where do you put your hand while you are communicating that you are feeling very down and hurt? Chala baadaga undi. No, you don't put your hand here. Where do you put your hand? This is the place of heart or mind. When you are thinking of some serious problem, where does your hand go to support? The place of, the head is the place of intellect. Then what is brain? It is the hardware. The intellect and the mind is the software. So how we interface with the outside world is decided by your mind, the texture of your mind. When you go buying cloth, even before the vendor tells you what kind of cloth that it is, how do you decipher what kind of cloth is it? Is it cotton? Is it terracotta? Is it sponge? Is it chiffon? Georgette? How do you know? What are you trying to decipher there? The texture of the cloth. Similarly, the textural condition of our mind decides how we see the world outside. Isn't it? दिल अच्छा है. दबाऊं क्या नहीं बड़ा? It may be raining, it may be sunny, it may be whatever be the weather. If the heart is in a good condition, in fact, we used to joke when we were in school that the teacher, when she entered and she was doing huff puff in the morning itself, what would we say? What would we say? Definitely, intlo, nature बोले ना, मेरे से Definitely ఇంట్లో కొట్టాడు వచ్చుంటుందందుకే ఇక్కడ మన మీద కసుగుసుకుంటుంది అంటారు. When the mind is agitated, the world looks agitated. When the mind is peaceful, the world looks peaceful and beautiful. The textural condition of our internal organ, which is the mind, if it is constantly maintained at a peaceful environment, the world looks amazingly beautiful. Each one of us has the similar kind of body, the same 5 jnanendriyas, 5 karmendriyas, isn't it? So infrastructurally they are same. The mind is also similar functioning pattern. But what makes the difference that somebody becomes an expert and somebody doesn't? It is the sharpness of that buddhi. Dhiyo yona prachodayat. May this education be so wholesome that from all possible aspects, whether it is of my vritti dharma, which is my family profession, or my personal passion, or my talents or skills, all of them have been evolved so that meaningfully I move on from day to day, such that when I come to the end of my life, I look back at my own life, it feels fulfilling. That was the purpose of education. That when they go out, they go with such self-dignity and pride in being who they are, what they are, whether it is with regards to the culture, civilization, dharma, that their head is head high. Never stooping low. Come what may the conditions. In these days, the way we are educating the children, I am scared. Mostly because the parenting has changed. Where they are hovering to make them stuffed with data. From 6th grade, they are preparing 6 to 6. Have you ever studied while growing up that long? Morning 6 to evening 6, 7. By the time the kid comes, he is exhausted. Where is the time for anything else? Where is the time for growth of skills? Where is the time for knowing what talents, what passion, what direction? Nothing. And the parents want to dust off their responsibility. We'll handle it. మా వాడు చాలా మిస్chievous గా ఉన్నాడు, మా వాడికి డిసిప్లిన్ లేదు, మీరు చూసుకోండి. That is naivety. You brought them into this world. Who has to instill those into them? You as parents. You get only about 6 to 7 hours to deal with them. The rest of the 17 hours they are spending, if they are at home. If the parents are at home, then they are spending with the parents. They are the ones that have to instill it. That aspect is completely missing. We are not trained and tutored as teachers to listen to all those aspects wherein we can bring. We are taught that this is a syllabus, this is a lesson plan, this is deliverables. Every month, every week, every day you have to complete this. Monthly there has to be a test. 3 months there has to be an exam. 6 months once there is a semester. At the end of the year, done. That batch finished. Literal sense, khatam ho gaya. Because the education is not being given with this perspective. Education is being only focused with the perspective of how much can they make so that they can be financially independent. Having all that finance, at the end of the day, don't we ask, when somebody asks us, how was your day? What do you say? It was good and happy with the day, or it was bad and not happy with the day. If having all of this and the happiness quotient is not instilled and the student has not been taught how to be in that happiness, can such individual be a productive, positive influence on the society to be a source of joy and happiness to others? A simple example. Do Do you have all your purses and wallets with you? Because Bhavani said you have to make only payment of attention. Now let me put some tension. Take out your purse and wallet. ఉన్నవాళ్ళు తీయండి. Each one take out 500. ఉంటే నాకు ఇవ్వకండి, లేకపోతే వాడికి చెడిపోయి వస్తుంది. వాడు వచ్చాడు 500 తీసుకెళ్ళిపోయాడు. The point that I am trying to strike here is, thank you for the effort. The point that I am trying to strike here is, it's not that you all don't have even 500. You don't have it right now, right here. If you are not accessible with that, can you be the giver? ఎవడో వస్తాడని ఏదో చేస్తాడని పాటలో ఉంది కదా, ఎదురు చూసి నిజం తెలిసి. If that happiness and contentment is not there accessible to me, what will I be giving to the society? That which I have access of, isn't it? So, as a teacher, the crucial job that we all have, the reason I say we all, because what am I doing right now? Teaching. The crucial job that we all have is to inculcate into the children the following things. First, the wholesome development of the child, that individual, in all facets, whether it is at the gross body, subtle body, or the causal body, the body, mind and the intellect, or a wholesome growth with regards to profession, passion, talents and skills. That is when they will go out, not to be bound in a 5 to 9 cubicle mindset. That comes to the second point, that we should be able to teach them that when they go out into the world, that should I be setting myself up into a mold, or should I be looking at what is the society having an issue with? How can I be the solution for it? That is where innovation is. Isn't it? That is where the individual will feel, నా జీవితం సార్థకతతో నిండిపోయింది. ఎందుకు? I have been able to provide that continuous solution to the society. I have been meaning to be meaningful, productive, and positive influence on the society. Third, with the kind of parenting, one thing that we are failing to see is we are not teaching them how to graciously fail. Pay attention, very, very crucial point. Did any one of us be born out of our mother's womb and run out like Usain Bolt? क्या मजाक कर रहे हो? When we were born, we didn't even know how to crawl. In about the first 3 months, we learned how to turn onto our tummies. How do you know that the child is not yet turned onto the tummy? When you look at the back of their head, there is a patch of thin hair, right? It has removed that portion of hair. That means the child has yet to fall on the stomach. Then starts crawling. Then one day that magic happens when they start balancing on their 2 feet. And once they balance or try starting balance, how many times does the child fall? Without falling, have you started learning to walk? Then why is this a special issue that failure is a bad thing? Failure is It is a teacher. It's a great teaching tool. What is more important is once fail we will all. One way or the other, one corner or the other, we will fall in life. Nobody can protect us from that. Not even that Almighty. If we fall, which we will, how quickly can I raise back onto my feet? That resilience has to be taught. It is not to protect, it is not wisdom to protect the child from failing or falling. Allow them to fall and fail and don't taunt them. I was telling you that. Don't taunt them. Teach them how to raise after having fallen. Once they fall, after they have fallen, teach them how to be back on their feet as quickly as possible with as much positivity as possible. Lack of this, what happens once they come into the higher school or once they go out of the high school? Because until then they are protected. Until then they were hovered by the parents and the teachers that we have not allowed them fail. A simple no in the outside world. They don't know how to handle it. A simple failure in the outside world, they don't know how to handle it. And what do they end up doing? सुई लगाकर साइड में पड़े रहते हैं. सुई साइड. Because they say that is the escape route. If a student has committed that, it is a failure of the system that we have not taught them how to be resilient. We have not taught them how to be on their own feet. Even if they fall, taunting them is not the criteria. Teaching them how to be back on their feet with utmost positivity, to try again with hope, with enthusiasm. And the last one, as teachers, I'm just grouping all the points. That was the third or fourth point. The last point we need to teach them to be with the mindset that how can I be of help and a solution to the society that I am an integral part of. Whatever be the issue, whether it is environmental issue, whether it is education issue, whatever be the issue that the society is going through, congestion is an issue, traffic is an issue, pollution is an issue. To those problems which are immediate, those problems which are there right in front of me, how can I provide and be a solution? That is where innovators are born. That is where scientists are born. That is where the next future generation is born that can take them into a newer height, a better height than what we are. If we as a society of teachers leave this world without making a better place than that which we were in, have we really succeeded or have we really failed the next generation? Then how can we not be a failure? It is only when they are taught to be responsible, to be the solution givers of the society. Presently, how is the attitude or the mindset? There are certain professions. With the certificate of qualification, you apply. Apply, no supply. You have to break through that market to create your own space in that cubicle. Then for the rest of the life, if that is the kind of end of experience, then we have not trained them, we have failed them in our training. Wherever they are, in whatever they are to be doing, what should be the attitude? How can I be a solution provider to wherever I am an integral part of. Which means with all this teaching, it boils down to one famous sentence. Teaching is not about what to think, but it is about how to think. These are my skills, this is my potential, this is my profession, this is my educational qualification, this is the situation, this is the problem, this is the crisis. How can I tackle it to provide a solution? Now, if we provide that mindset, whether at an individual life or at a society at large, we are creating innovative new generation. Then we have succeeded as citizens. Hopefully, I have conveyed what was the pedagogy or the philosophy of teaching of our ancient Gurukula system. It's about 11:35. About 10 minutes, 20 minutes, question answers. Try to be asking the questions within the syllabus. Out of syllabus questions may be answered, but prefer